Okay, whilst obviously a federal issue, this, the big energy utilities have been lobbying very, very strongly and continue to do so to water this RET down. It's brought down emissions quite clearly and will result in cheaper energy in the long run. I just despair of the federal government's view on, number one, trying to destroy it and now trying to water it down as much as possible. Why do you think they're doing that, and what's your own view as to what your party would do on the RET?
I'll start for you again, James.
I thought maybe Rob.
Okay.
Yeah,
Rob.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the irony here to note is that the first iteration of the renewable energy target was actually introduced by the Howard government in the year 2000.
It was.
And it's certainly, in our view from New South Wales, we have a clear view. You know, our role is to represent the best interests of the citizens of New South Wales, and we believe that there is huge investment opportunity through the renewable energy target. We made our position clear in that we support the retention of the 41 gigawatt target. The only concession we made, given that we're getting very close to 2020, is that whenever that is reached. The reason we did that as well is we don't actually currently have generation requirement in this country. We've got more generation than we require at present, but certainly the RET can have a very important role in ensuring that new generation, when it comes online, will be renewable, so that there's an opportunity to replace old fossil fuel generation with new renewable generation. So we have a very clear position on the RET. Obviously, as you've mentioned, it's an issue for the federal government. But I think the other point that I'd like to make very, very briefly is what this is all about. And often when we talk about costs of different technologies, the big cost that never really gets properly talked about is the costs of lending and the risk to lenders. Because what the RET did was establish some certainty for banks to lend on. One of the clear realities is that currently I'm not aware of a bank that would lend to construct a coal-fired power plant in this country because the risks are too great. So what we need, through whatever policy mechanism is chosen, is the certainty to unlock investment capital. That's the key, and that's what the RET provides.
Even the small renewable energy target set up by the Howard government created a lot of jobs. There was a factory in Portland and Victoria that was building giant blades for the Vestas company. There was another factory in Wynyard in Tasmania creating jobs, building other wind turbine components. All it needed was the policy push. But unfortunately, around about 2006, it became clear that we'd already effectively met the target for 2010, and those factories closed. And now with the current threat to the current renewable energy target, renewable energy developers are going overseas, they're closing down, they're shedding jobs. So it's really tragic. With the political will, we could meet the renewable energy target and more for 2020. There's already been sufficient wind farms receiving planning approval to almost do that on their own. But with the uncertainty created by the coalition government in Canberra, nobody wants to invest. So it's a tragic situation. Yes, we do have overcapacity in electricity generation, but that's easily solved. We need to start withdrawing and shutting down more coal-fired power stations. One final sentence is that some of those coal-fired power stations are being kept running because of the federal government's policy that will basically pay them to get off and so on. So why should they leave if they can be paid? It's really ridiculous.
Well, if Mark didn't say it, I was going to. But it's 2015, and we're still fiddling around talking about what the renewable energy target in 2020 is going to be. And if you want to talk about investment certainty, and not just for those people who are planning to train a workforce to roll out solar panels or to build a solar thermal power station, but if you're talking about manufacturing jobs in this industry, people will make investment decisions on the 20-year plan for renewable energy in this country. And so I'm really keen for us to get past where we're at the moment with this debate and start talking about where we're going to be in 2030 and 2040 and 2050, because I think that's how business, community, government can plan together, work together to get to 100% renewable energy as soon as possible.
I'll just say very briefly that the Labor Party remains committed to the 41 gigawatt hour target by 2020. We think it's achievable. We think it can be done. And we're looking forward to seeing that implemented. But I agree with what everyone else has said, which is that it's also absolutely essential that we have certainty in order that industry can plan and can invest and get cracking on building the things that we need to do in order to achieve these targets.